And go onto your stomach. Facing me, please. Put the elbows underneath the middle of your shoulder joints, wherever you think that is. So the idea here would be that we said it, but we'll just keep saying it, that the upper arms are vertical, means at a right angle to the floor, vertical, so that somebody could sit on your shoulders and that your upper arms would be organized to bear a tremendous amount of weight, because the bones are quite strong when they're organized properly. And then look to the horizon, do the sinking movement. Now this time you find out if it would be possible to bring your two shoulder blades toward each other. See, and if it would be possible to reduce a little bit the effort, although the position in itself is demanding, so that you can feel if one shoulder blade is more nimble than the other, easier to slide, easier to sense. And does that have anything to do with do you also lean on both forearms equally or not? So it's not a push-up. Your shoulders, I see what it is. So I'm going to give an instruction that's going to knock out your behavior. This is what we do in ATM. Okay, no, you have to learn this. Okay, so go back, do it again. She's finished. See, it's exhausting. You're doing like push-ups. Okay, I'm going to give an instruction that's going to knock your behavior out. Okay, so eyes to the horizon. Sink your spine down in between your shoulder blades in such a way, but it's not a big change of angle of your upper arm relative to your lower arm. The shoulder blades move a lot, but in other words, you're not bringing your shoulders toward the floor. You're sliding backward, that's right. See, you were bending. You feel the difference between that and what you were doing? This is slightly easier, but it's more demanding on your C7, isn't it? Okay. You saw what she was doing, right? She was doing like a push-up almost. Yeah. You were doing like a push-up with the arms. I'm trying to keep that angle. All right, rest a second. This is ATM. I mean, if we don't correct people, which theoretically we said last week, we don't correct people in ATM, but then we have to come up with an instruction that eliminates the thing they're doing, right? We have to find a way of saying it that they'll find another way to do it. Rest a little bit. Now, maybe with your left ear on the floor, put both arms out to the side with your palms down. And slide, in this position, slide your right shoulder blade toward your spine and back. Means shorten your arm and lengthen your arm. Maybe without the demand of the weight bearing, you can be more sensitive to feeling this movement. So you have to climb, your arms are out to the side, they're more or less straight, they're not bent at the elbow now. What is work? Yes, sides, right, out to the side. Your left ear is on the floor and slide your right shoulder blade towards your spine and back. And feel that that corresponds to this idea of the shoulder blade being able to come closer to your spine. Feel what you do with the front of your chest, as well as in other words, that connection between your shoulder blade and your clavicle. And feel if the breathing is easier when you're in this position. It's not the elbow. The elbows, it's not a movement of the elbow. The arm stays relatively straight. Not taut, but the movement is sliding your shoulder blade toward your spine and back. So the hand crawls along on the floor, the fingers. In one situation, you could say that the arm shortens a little bit, and when the shoulder goes toward the spine, or lengthens when it goes away. Try it with the left shoulder now, but keep the head in the same. Keep the left ear on the floor. Try it with the left shoulder blade. We're not supposed to say try, but explore the possibility of the movement of the left shoulder blade going toward your spine. Climbing uphill. Is it nimbler or less nimble than the right? And is it because it's not as nimble, or is it because of the way you have the head turned? So turn the head the other way. And take a few times the movement of the left shoulder blade coming toward your spine. And then with the right ear on the floor, go back to taking the right shoulder blade toward your spine, means the shoulder that's behind the head. So again, you can feel what differences it make, turning the head one way or the other. And which way do you like to turn your head anyway? Do you like to turn it toward the more mobile shoulder, or the other way? Now, take both shoulder blades together in this position and back. And maybe, you see, for some people, it's when they bring the shoulder blades toward each other, did you know it would be anatomically possible for them to touch? But don't break anything off to do that. I'm just saying it's, many people they can come quite close together, but don't strain to make that happen. I'm simply saying they can come close together. And then, but for some people, it's the going back home that allows you to feel yourself more. So stay with it, whether it's bringing the shoulder blades together or going back home and feeling the connection with your clavicles as well. In other words, spread your attention and feel any other part of yourself while you do it. Your abdomen, your knees, your feet, breathing. All right. Now, come lean on your forearms again. Bring your head to the vertical, your eyes to the horizon, and sink a few times down in between your shoulder blades. Take your spine and bring your shoulder blades together as you do that. And back. Eyes to the horizon. And feel if it's clear, the differentiation between the movement of your spine and your shoulder blades. I think maybe I don't know if we said it last week, but for many people, shoulders, spine, it's all ribs, it's all a blur. It's all a kind of something back there, right? but we're getting much more clear about our structure. Lie on your back and rest. And listen to your breathing. And listen to the places that move as the air comes in or out. Maybe you feel movement in places other than just your belly now. How high up do you feel the movement of air, or how low down? And do you allow there to be movement as the air comes out? Chest softens a bit. Or you feel it coming in and out through the nostrils. And then in this position, put your arms out to the side with the palms facing the ceiling. And feel if you could bring your shoulder blades toward each other in this position. And then back home. And of course, you feel the chest lifts a bit when you do that. I mean, actually, it's a kind of a transposition, because if I said that when you bring your shoulder blades together in the back, your sternum goes forward, would that description make sense to you? What is the sternum going forward? Where is that in this position? It goes toward the ceiling. And that's forward relative to yourself, to the front of you, isn't it? See, when you're turned the other way, the sternum would go toward the floor. But here, you lie on the back. You bring your shoulder blades toward each other. The upper spine goes forward toward the ceiling. And that's the transposition of the sinking movement. Not as dramatic in this position, but you can feel the beginning of it maybe. And the shoulder blades going together and coming apart, and little by little trying to make them a little bit more similar to each other. Sensing them equally. So your sternum lifts in the front. Top of the sternum is where the clavicles come together. That part goes closer to the ceiling. And then put the arms down and pause a minute. Rest. And then from here, from lying on the back, lift yourself so that you're leaning on your forearms and your head is vertical in this position. I think we did some head rolls in this position this week. And in this position, how would you bring your shoulder blades together, take your C7 and your sternum forward, climb in between your shoulder blades and back. Have your head vertical if you can. Oh la la. So now imagine that your partner has their hand on your sternum, has your hand on the place where your two clavicles come together, the top of the sternum. Let that part move. Very close to C7. Feel the C7 going, moving back and climbing out. Moving toward the floor behind you and climbing out. Try to breathe. Shoulder blades coming together when you climb out. Getting wider apart when you go back. So when the shoulder blades come together, the sternum comes forward, C7 comes forward, and then go the other way, the shoulder blades move apart. And the head staying vertical if you can. Okay, rest a little bit. So much parasitic effort around this area for human beings. So much stuff. So it's no wonder that people find it a little challenging, but remember, I said you don't have to be perfect to improve. So just even beginning the exploration, you'll see it'll make a tremendous difference. Someone told me today that I was talking about when you go out, seeing how you are and where, where these things show up in life. And it's not, it's not just the, so to say, body. So she said, oh, I left yesterday and all of a sudden I started thinking about something and I had all these ideas and my mind was exploding with possibilities and connections. And she really felt it in another part, that something had, I don't know, just become liberated to imagine, create, think in a new way. So we just don't know. We have to see where these things land. Now, come back onto your stomach. Lean on your forearms. And eyes to the horizon. And try the sinking again. Don't look down. It's as if somebody was holding your head and just took it straight down an elevator to the down and pulled it back up. So there's no tipping. So the nose stays oriented to the front. That's it. And just feel if even in your misery, you can discern some little glimmer of improvement. It's getting easier, isn't it? A little bit easier. Now, again, try to feel any difference. See if you can feel or find out if you can feel any difference between the right shoulder and the left. And now turn your left ear to the floor. Rotate your head. Turn your left ear. So we'll do it a little asymmetrically. And in this position, take with your face turned to the right, take your left ear to the floor and back. So now we're taking it a strong, the C7 is still going toward the floor, the spine is still sinking, but in a turned position and come back. You can take the ear quite close to the floor. Breathe. And come out. With the head turned the left ear toward the floor and out. Is it easier for you to feel your spine in this turned position? These upper vertebrae, the upper ribs maybe? There's actually a movement of your ribs underneath your shoulder blades. Relative, differentiated movement. Okay, Put the ear down and rest. So we said, I'm only talking to let you rest more. We talked last week about, on Friday, I told you some stories about working with kids whose adaptation to gravity was not as good as it might have been because nobody was attending to the details of how we learn it, how we get it in the first place. And, and so on our level, it's the same for us. I mean, the whole first year of the training, there's a lot of functional relationships being explored that for us have to do with things. We bump into things that were maybe not so clear from the beginning. I mean, not that we know. We don't say, oh, yeah, when I was 6 months old, I wasn't able to. I mean, my memory started age 3. So, it's not like we remember. But you have a sense sometimes that you're being asked to clarify something that is just so muddy. And that, of course, makes you very, very tired the first time you bump up against it. But then little by little by little, it gets clearer and improves and becomes more and more available. So we kind of go back and take care of some of the things that were missed long ago. Bring yourself now up onto your forearms again. And turn the ear the other way. And sink and climb out. Sink and climb out. Turn your face the other way. And feel the movement of your spine and your sternum and your ribs in this position. So your face is turned now. It's not eyes to the horizon unless you're purposely, it's doing it in a rotation. Movement of the clavicles. And rest again a little bit. Listen to your breathing. Listen to the back movement of the back ribs in this position, moving as the air comes in and out. And then come again onto your forearms. And make again the sinking. Make it, just initiate now the movement. Just begin the movement and think of these vertebrae that your partner had touched and initiate the movement from that area. So make it smaller now. Make it smaller and more delicate. In other words, because we're sinking and bringing the shoulder blades and everything, then the effort goes up. So again, Just a very delicate, that's it. Just a little bit, moving those vertebrae and coming out. And then allow it to get a little bit bigger, but only in relation to this absence of effort, to the extent that that's possible. Don't worry about the big movement now. Worry about the, if you want, but rather trying to increase the sensitivity by bringing the effort down. And as usual, the minute we make a smaller movement, just initiate the movement, stop trying to achieve the movement. We're able to feel ourselves more clearly, isn't it? That's nice. Good. Now just stop that and bring yourself to sitting however you want, but without holding the breath. So it's a bit of a trick, Karen, you know. I've been tricking you. You know that, right? Because if we come back now to the idea, the conversation we had yesterday, where we discussed the fact that you should never put your head back because it's very hard on the cervical vertebra, and I said I agreed, but that if you knew what you were doing, you could do what you want. I didn't say that, of course. So, but if you now put your hands behind you, as some of you discovered already earlier, and you lift your chest and you very, very slowly take the head forward and back, and feel if, as you take the head back, if you move that C7 forward, then the whole sternum is supporting the movement of the head, isn't it? Just a few times. Try to connect what we did this afternoon with the idea of being able to take the head back. So can you feel now that actually when you take the head back, and I think this is an example where I think it's going to be easier to have the fingertips facing backward for this movement so that the shoulder blades can actually push with the hands, and the shoulder blades can come together. And then you feel that actually your sternum really goes forward, doesn't it? And your spine sinks in between your shoulder blades. It's just a different position. Would never occur. It would never occur to you. It's connected maybe, but. And then with the shoulder blades moving like that in the C7, you can do even more. And it's not dangerous. Is it dangerous? Well, if you use your entire self, it's not dangerous. If the movement is distributed throughout your entire self, but it's always, you know, it's like people want to disagree with me about things, but they're not, they don't have the full image of what's possible. They don't know what their options are. So they're disagreeing from a small point of view about what's possible. And that's why I just say, no, 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 lie on your back, rest. Once you know what the possibilities are, then we'll talk. Well, that's the story of our life, right? We have our opinions and our ideas, but that's all they are. I went to my training and I was very interested, and maybe some of you feel this too. I wanted things to be defined in an absolute way. I wanted to know the absolute truth. I was searching for it, as all of us hippies were in those days, but absolute. And Moshe would never do it. No sooner did he state one point of view, when the next minute he would vehemently argue the exact opposite, and he would make you crazy. So that's the Feldenkrais method. What are you going to do? But we do have principles, and the principles are great, and you can do everything you need to do with yourself, with other people, just through the principles. You don't need the absolute truth. It turns out the principles are much more generative than trying to stick some kind of formula onto another person. So come sit up again. And many people got their head vertical today and got their arms vertical today that didn't do it yesterday. So many people took another step toward it. Put your soles of your feet together, and or maybe we'll do just a couple of times in each direction, the circles. Go as slow as you want. Don't just do the circles, but really find out between what Margaret did with you this morning. There was so much proximal movement in that lesson, not to mention the hip joint, your hip joints, your head, your neck. Can you lean on your hands behind? Can you lean on, no? Move your pelvis, shift your weight if you can. That's it. Sternum. What about the sternum? There's this idea that the sternum can slide relative to the spine. Maybe you can feel that the spine, well, it's too many big ideas for one day. Maybe we have to save something for tomorrow. Anyway, sense your sternum. I'll save it. I'll save it for tomorrow, but it's moving, it's sliding. And change direction. Feel the softness of the movement now. Much, much softer. And now it seems like what I feel in the room is that your interest in sensing what's really happening with yourself is much stronger than your need to achieve something. And so, of course, it's very beautiful to watch because your attention is much more spread throughout yourself. And then much more of you is involved. Now, put the right leg backward and the left leg in front. And maybe first of all that. Well, first of all, without that, a few times, just change over the legs, feel that. And again, maybe what Margaret did with you this morning is going to help you with this movement. See how much of your entire self you can feel in it. All the way up through your spine, your sternum, your upper spine. Breathing free. And maybe a little bit less frowning could help. I mean, it's really a beautiful movement that you're doing now. So you could be a little bit pleased with yourself. I mean, I know I know two people in the room that are trained as dancers, but everybody else is moving rather well too, don't you think? Not just the people trained as dancers. It's very nice. Okay, now see if you can put that together with, you put one leg behind, put either hand on top. It doesn't really matter because you're going to do both combinations, right? And make the circling of the head, the elbow, making a circle, and then put it together when you're ready with the changing over of the legs. Just feel if there's a little bit more possibility there for you. The elbows open to the out to the side if you can. If you can, that's gonna, yeah. Yeah, take a part of the movement. Begin, initiate, go back. Make it like a little mathematical problem to solve or a little puzzle. Or like a child playing in the backyard saying, "Oh, I wonder if I can, what can I do with myself?" They just make up all this body stuff, right? I don't know that they ever made this up, but okay. Change over the hand. If you were just a little bit less tired, it would be easier. I see. You're just at the. You've got some, or you have too many movable joints now. You don't know how to coordinate all these movable joints. All right. A lot of movement. It's a logical time when the head would go forward. There's a logical time when the head would go to the side. If you can feel your head moving through space and your hip joints and your legs and your whole and your pelvis shifting at the same time. If all the attention gets put in one part, you can't bring it together. And lie on your back and rest. All right, you sleep on it. Let it cook. Simmer. Bend your knees. Come up to sitting. Stand up. Feel your adaptation to gravity, where your head is in space, where your eyes are, where you feel more supported. You feel more supported, whatever that word means. Your breathing is easier. Okay, so I know some of you had breakdowns and some of you had breakthroughs and some of you just had breaks put on. So whatever it was, be kind to yourself. Go home, have a nice evening, and come back tomorrow. Just be nice to yourself, okay? Whatever it was. We'll see you. Because it can change, and it always does. But there was a lot of, there were some breakthroughs and there were some breakdowns, but there was movement in the room. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.